All right, I think we are ready to rock and roll. So, welcome everybody to this next episode of the Monthly Sync. If you haven't joined before, I'm Tash and I am VP of Customer Growth at a company called Hook, and I am your host for today. Today's topic is all about customer success at scale. How do we do this in the best possible way for our customers, but also the best possible way for our businesses too? And I'm joined by two incredible speakers today who are going to walk us through their experience and their expertise in this matter. So, welcome, Steffen. Welcome, Jeff. I'm going to hand over to the two of you to do a quick introduction. Steffen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tash. So, hi everyone. My name is Steffen Kaiser. I'm a head of customer retention and growth at sevdesk for more than 6 years. Sevdesk is a cloud-based accounting software for very small businesses to mid businesses in Germany. Mostly, I'm excited to be here today to share how we think about customer success at scale and how we combine technology, automations, and also personal touches to help our customers succeed.
Amazing. Thanks, Steffen. And Jeff?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Jeff Love. I'm the Director of Global Scaled Customer Success at MongoDB. And prior to that was in a similar role at HubSpot for about 7 years. I've been in the CS space for almost 15 years now in technology-based companies and in the kind of scaled orbit and world for the last 7 or so. And it's a space I really enjoy talking about. I enjoy meeting people who are facing the same challenges and trying to overcome the same obstacles as me. So looking forward to the conversation today.
Love that. Thank you both. Well, we're very excited for the content today. Just for everybody else who's watching, please do ask questions in the chat or the Q&A box as we go through. We'll try and make sure we save a couple of minutes at the end to get through some of those questions. So don't be shy in putting them in there. I think what might be a nice starter, Jeff and Steffen, is to give the watchers or the listeners some context around the kinds of volumes of customers that you both are dealing with right now. So when you're thinking about scale, are you talking 20 customers, 200 customers, 2,000 customers? What does that look like for both of you? Jeff, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think so. To answer your question directly, it's tens of thousands of customers, about 50 to 60,000 customers right now, and at MongoDB, and was similar for my time at HubSpot. But every company is a little bit different, and like what scale looks like can be very, very different for every company. You know, if your CSMs are typically working over 1 or 2 accounts, scale probably looks like 20 accounts. You know, roughly speaking, in my experience, like scale tends to be, you know, on the low side, like 5x, on the high side, like 10x the number of customers that you would serve in your one to few or dedicated or direct or whatever you call it model, your more traditional model of CSM.
Nice, thank you. And Steffen, what about you?
Yeah, so when I was started at sevdesk, we are about 20K customers. So, but we had a pretty nice growth over the last 6 years. So currently we are there are more than 130,000 customer who are customers at sevdesk. So
Great
and
stuff.
it was a great travel this journey. So a lot to do, a lot of learnings there.
Yeah, amazing. So the two of you have experience in big scale, but Jeff, I like what you said. I think anything that we talk can absolutely be applied to whatever scale means for you. So keep that in mind as we go through the webinar. Now, knowing what I know about both of you and your approach to customer success, I know that scale for you doesn't mean spray and pray, like just send one mass message to everybody and hope that sticks. So maybe let's talk a little bit about your mindset and your approach, or the pillars that you put in place when you think about building a scaled motion. What does that look like to you? Jeff, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think it's really important that you have a pillar or a mindset or like a mantra to come back to, and like one that I've settled on that really serves as the North Star for all the work that I do and how we push to be better for our customers and all that stuff is like offering customers the right help at the right time. And when you think through that, it means you need to be like surgical and very tactical on when those times are. And it doesn't mean that it needs to be all the exact same times that you used to do if you're standing up scaled for the first time and you're, in your more traditional CS model. You need to figure out exactly when customers need you, exactly where they need you, and exactly when they need you. Because if you're just hovering over your customer base, like, do they need help now? Do they need help now? Do they need help now? That doesn't scale, right? You have to be there when they need them at those precise times, and saving yourself candidly in your CSM's time as well. What I will say is it's a really nice catch line. I like it. It's on like all of my slides everywhere, but it's a lot easier said than done. The way I kind of think about scaled CS and why I'm like so infatuated with it is that like it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. I actually don't have a Rubik's Cube on my desk, but I feel like it's a Rubik's Cube that sits on my desk. I like fiddle with it and I figure out two sides, the red and the green look good, and I turn it over only to realize I've messed up like the other four sides of the cube. So I would just say like mantras and methodologies are good and nice, but they're only going to take you so far, and you need to figure out ways to adapt along the way because there's going to be obstacles that you don't anticipate too.
Seems like a missed opportunity on my part to not have sent you a Rubik's Cube pre-webinar.
No
Sorry. Steffen, what about you? Like, what's your mindset at Sevdesk and how you approach scale?
Yeah. So on our side at Sevdesk, we're more thinking about the scale CS as a process. So it means that the processes, tools, and also the content are designed to support many customers effectively, but without losing any relevance. So totally agree with Jeff at this point. So you have to should spot early signals to be proactive on the side of the customer, build a strong self-service solutions for them that they can also be independently without you as a CSM or as a person, but to be there if they need you.
Yeah. And I think sometimes that's part of the tricky piece around running scale, right? Is, okay, how do I push the right message at the right time and not accidentally create this influx of questions onto my team that we just can't handle? And so that directing people to scalable resources is such a good point, Steffen. Both of you have talked about this similar concept of like relevance, right help, right time. And so when you're talking tens or hundreds of thousands of customers, I imagine one of the things that you start to think about is, how do I break these customers down into like buckets or cohorts so I can start to apply that? And so how do both of you start to think about segmenting your scaled segment so that you can send right content at right time? Steffen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So you should think, in my mind, more in a multi-dimensional and dynamic segmentation. So it depends really on where are the customers currently on the customer journey. So you have to fit their different needs. The customer has different goals on different stages there. So you have to figure out what it is. So and help the customer to achieve his goal on the stage and on the place where he currently on the journey. So you don't only look at the size of customer and revenue. You should also look more deeper in the data. Also look in customer behavior, feature usage, also health score. For example, with Hook, it's a good tool to get deeper in the mind of the customers as well, and find spots where the customer is struggling with. And then go on and find ways to send the right message for the pain the customer said in the spot right now.
Nice. So you've almost got like a matrix running, which is, okay, well, one facet is, where do they sit in the journey? Are they in the implementation phase and adoption? Are they coming up to renewal? But then you're layering over some of the like harder data about how they're using and what their health looks like, so that in any kind of given flow or piece of content, it's hitting home what they should be doing at that phase in the journey.
Yeah, right. Then you also should be aware that also customer can shift in different segmentations. So customer also get develop over the time and growth or get inactive. So you find ways how they can also automatically go in new segments there and how to handle it.
Yeah, I love that. Jeff, what about on your side? How do you think about breaking down tens of thousands of customers into like cohorts or segments that feel reasonable?
Yeah. The matrix is a big tool in the tool belt for me. We call it our customer prioritization model, and I think it very much can change depending upon your business or how you're trying to serve your customers better. But I have found like a 2x2 matrix works pretty well, where on one kind of axis is how much does this customer like represent to you as the company, right? Because at the end of the day, we're in CS to try and retain customers. Yes, we all have strong desires to help customers, but we get a paycheck to keep them there. So you got to figure out like how do you prioritize customers by the value they bring to the business. Now that could be recurring revenue, it might be potential revenue if you're really tightly aligned with your sales team, but basically like how much like level of effort should we put into this, this group of customers or this customer. And then another one is like customer health or churn risk or like risk to the business is another really good second axis. Now, if you're very product focused, it could be more like usage or consumption or something like that. But like that second axis is basically just like how worried should we be about the customer and how much should we try to fix that worry is essentially the way I think about that 2x2 matrix for us that we dub customer prioritization model. The big thing I will say though is customers shouldn't feel this. Like big plus one to what Steffen said about the customer journey. Like every customer deserves a really good experience, and you need to give that to them. Your customer shouldn't feel your prioritization model or your org chart or whatever it is. It's your job to look at your customer journey and figure out like how do we scale this? How do we offer up different self-serve offerings, potentially human offerings, webinar offerings, so that it feels good no matter which priority level I am.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And this concept of risk and when do I apply scale or maybe more of an automated journey and when do I apply human, I think is such a good one because so many CS leaders are thinking about this black and white. Like I either have a scaled approach or I have a human-led approach, and you can layer the two on top of each other, right? Like try the scaled approach with your risk accounts. If that doesn't work, then you can bring in the human intervention for the ones that the scale touch point doesn't solve for. Interesting.
Totally.
Okay, cool. Well, so you both sit and break down your books of business, your customers into different cohorts, different segments, and you have different but similar ways of doing that, I think. The next step is then, I guess, creating the journeys and the content that maps to each of those different cohorts or segments. And so I'm interested to know, but also there's a question in the chat. Is that something that you and your CS teams are doing? Are you working with marketing and other internal teams to build these journeys and this content out? What does that look like for the two of you? Steffen?
Yeah, thanks. Collaboration is crucial for the success in scale. Also, I think not only for sevdesk. So you can scale CS in isolation. For example, we as a CS, we bring a lot of insights and predictive analysis, maybe from Hook as a tool as well. So our customer marketing team, we build it very soon in our journey right now. So they executed all the insights. So it's really collaboration with these two teams. So bring the insights, bring the knowledge of your customer, and then find the right ways to send the right message to the customer. Also with product as well. So sometimes it's a little bit more difficult as we discuss it also with our marketing teams. So, but in the end, the customer has only one journey, and one experience. As Jeff said before, they are not interested. Okay, this is the product department or this is a marketing department. So they want to get a great experience, and in the end, also the revenue is recurring by recurring value. So if you bring, it doesn't matter if it's a product touch point or a marketing touch point or CNS touch point. If you bring a value to the customer, in the end, it's bring value to you as a company.
Yeah, brilliant. What about on your side, Jeff? Is the content and the journeys things that you're creating as a CS team, or is it in collaboration?
It's in collaboration for sure, and we definitely do that at MongoDB, and did that along the way at HubSpot too in the journey. I would say, like for the 7-year journey I was on at HubSpot, we only did that for like probably the last like 3 or 4. And just the difference in how much more we got done, how many more customers we reached when we were tightly aligned with marketing just made such a huge difference. And we weren't just sending off, one-off campaigns anymore, with like not the right tooling. We could get together, we could leverage their expertise. So I would say like find someone in your marketing department who's passionate about customers and driving customer experience as well. Like find someone else who has that Rubik's Cube on their desk, so to speak, and partner with them. It just makes a huge difference in terms of that. I will say one of the other things too that we're still working on is like doing it correctly in product as well. I would say that that's another piece because, your best emails are going to get like 30% open rates. And like we push a lot of stuff to try to book time with CSMs. And you're talking like 10, 12% of the emails you send will result in a meeting booked with a CSM or attending a webinar or whatever it is. That means 80, 90% of people are just doing nothing or not listening to you. So trying to find places where your customers are and interacting with them there is really good. And partnering with marketing, I've found is more successful when you go to product and try and get into product, because I think we all have these really big ambitions as CS people and have these big customer-centric hearts, and we want to help them everywhere. And I think product managers, understandably so, are worried we're going to trash their product and turn it into like AOL, like circa like 1998, with like a bunch of pop-ups and like, hey, do you need help? Do you want to talk to this person? Do you want that? So when you partner with marketing, you can come with a lot of really good like click metrics and things like that product managers typically like to see, as opposed to just a more customer journey centric story, which you definitely need to tell the story of, hey, customers are stuck here. We know this, but the story and the metrics, like from CS and marketing together, I've found is more successful.
Yeah, nice. And I think like if there's anyone listening going, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to get support from marketing on something like this. I think it's also okay to have a go as a CS team and write the content yourselves. There's nothing to stop you if marketing can't help you. I know when we built our scaled or digital approach at SalesLoft before I joined Hook, we divided a load of cadences out or journeys out between the CS team, and we're like, you write this one, you write that one, I'll write this one. So yes, like best in class state would be partner up and make sure not only that your content is on point, but that your journeys match up too. But don't be afraid to just have a go if you can't get some internal help, right?
We did the same thing. We repurposed headcount for like, we called them program leads, and they did like everything from sending emails to like coordinating the customer journey. And
yeah,
we reached a level of maturity where we were stepping on each other's toes too much. And we were like, okay, we need to come together and bring this together. But absolutely, we got a ton of good work done, funding it in-house, so to speak.
Yeah, fabulous. And I'd be interested to know from the two of you, one of the things that we were really cautious of is making sure that the content was written in a CSM's tone of voice. So like back to your point earlier, Jeff, that the customer doesn't feel like they're in a different part of your matrix or a different part of your journey, that they're less of a priority, that they feel like they're getting this experience from your CS team, even if it is at scale. Have the two of you had any experiences or any opinion on that?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, Jeff. So yeah, of course, we also had a lot of marketing mails written from marketing teams. So and there we get A/B tests. So one message is more driven like a business email, and the other is more marketing driven. So and there we find out that business driven had more click-through rate and so on. Not everywhere in the journey. It really depends on the part the customer is currently in. But yeah, I think CS looks more on what's the pain of the customer, what are they struggling with, than more than, oh, I have to build the next brand design solution for the company and create a more brand message. So yeah, totally.
And a big plus one to what Steffen said. I mean, the more you partner or are able to partner with marketing, and you can do A/B testing or variant testing or things like that, you can let the data lead you depending upon your product. Maybe they want some big, beautiful, long email with tons of resources. In my experience, it's been more of the kind of what we dubbed the stoplight email, right? I do not advise looking at your phone while driving, but if you're at if you're at a stoplight and you can read an email, typically those are the ones that were better click-through rates, that we got more meetings from, we got more webinar attendees, things like that. But it depends. Like everybody's customers are different and want different things. And to Steffen's point, the more you can partner with that, the more you'll have the data behind the decisions too. But lead with your gut, I would say.
Yeah, brilliant. We followed a similar approach, and we tried to figure out a set framework that was like, what's the thing that we're trying to get the customer to do, and why, and telling them the why up front, and fast following with, here's a case study of how another customer did that thing and went on to receive success, and then here's how you go do that thing. And to your point earlier, directing them off onto on-demand resources. And I think this is part of the iteration process, right? Like you write some content, might not be perfect first time round, but it's okay to check it and to iterate and to continuously improve. So there's a couple of questions actually on this piece. How do you know along the way if you are being successful? How do you know that the journeys that you've built, the way you've segmented it, the content, if it's resonating and it's impacting? Jeff, I'll go to you first.
Yep. So I touched on this before. At the end of the day in CS, we all get paychecks for a big reason is retaining customers. So, some of the legacy metrics like retention, whether that's gross revenue retention, regular old revenue retention, some sort of blended retention, like whatever it is, that's a big one. But that's a lagging indicator, as we all know, and especially in a scaled environment where you're making changes and iterating a lot. And especially if you're a renewals-based business where you're waiting for typically like a year for those renewal cohorts to come around, it's a long time to just sit and wait and see if what you're doing is working. So what I've been really maniacal about doing is creating leading indicators of that success. And so they can be everything from like activity-based metrics, like how often are we talking to customers? What percentage of the customer base are we talking to, emailing, engaging with, like having that, like so that we at least look like, even if we're going on a fully digital journey, they should still feel that support, right? So like how many people are we engaging with in our customer base? Another one that I'm a really big fan of is the concept of like resolution rate. So what we do is talking about being in the right place at the right time. We'll use product telemetry signals to figure out like, are customers struggling? Are they not leveraging things? Are they setting up something wrong? And if so, put that in front of a CSM and say, hey, customer XYZ is struggling with this. You should probably go talk to them. Or if they're in a fully digital journey, sending them self-serve resources. And then those product signals that triggered that CTA after a set amount of time, we'll go back and we'll say, do they still exist? And if the answer is yes, unfortunately, we have not solved that problem. It's not resolved. If the answer is no, they don't exist anymore, and we've talked to them or we've engaged with them, we can basically give that credit back to the CS team, org, marketing team, or the CSM that talked to them. And what you can do is you can start to see like, how are your resolution rates doing over time? How many customers are you engaging with in that way? And it's a really powerful metric because in CS, I firmly believe you're never as good as your good months and you're never as bad as your bad months. And a lot of times you hear they're like, yeah, but did you really influence that churn? Did you really save that customer? Was that sales? Was that product? What is it? And I think resolution rates, if we can say distinctively, like, it fired on this date, my CSM talked to them on that date, and it resolved on this date, it's like, yeah, we had a big part to play in that. So I'm a big fan of that kind of concept of trying to create that leading indicator, whatever it may be for you. For me, I'm a big proponent of that one.
I love that. And you talked a little bit about insights. I think there are so many insights that you get from running this scaled motion around what are people using and not using in different parts of the journey that we should absolutely be feeding back to product all the way through to implementation to say people aren't picking this feature up. We need to train them better on it. Or, hey, product, like we need to improve usability of this particular feature. So many good things from that. Steffen, what about you? How are you measuring success at sevdesk?
Yeah. We use testing to see what really drives outcomes. So, for example, we implemented webinars for our new customers. So, and want to find out, okay, the group A, which get the webinar, have they a shorter time to value, or does group B without a webinar has the same time to value? So you can see clearly if there are really an outcome of your initiatives there. So and totally I go with Jeff. You have to find leading indicators. So like number of support tickets or feature adoption. If you send a mail, how to write in Sevdesk example, an invoice or something like that, are there the feature adoption increase. So I'm a fan of A/B tests. So you have a control group and the other group which get the new stuff. So and also it's in the end it's retention we want to drive. So it's not easy to find, okay, this email hits the retention rate or something like that. So we all do our best to retain our customers as good as we can. And in the end, if the result is good, so I don't know if it's really matter where the results are coming from. So but for you as a CS team, as a department CS or also a CSM, try to test, and I would go to with A/B tests. But we have a lot of customers, so it's easy to do A/B tests in our stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I think you're right. You can't say, hey, this one email drove this GRR or this NRR, but you can still look at the most successful emails. And I wonder how many people are looking at that in their different journeys to go, hey, this email is performing really well. How do I move that further up in my process so that they get that email first and they get that time to value is much shorter, but also what's working about that email and how do I replicate the like style or the feel of it across my other ones as part of that like test and iteration process. So such a good
And
point.
sorry, Tash.
Okay.
And also if you have then results, it's easier to get in touch with product. So you have numbers behind. So and you can say, okay, there are a 20% uplift in feature adoption in this group. So what can we do as product CS teams to bring the results earlier in the journey or help the customers better there. So it's then it's also easier to get into the product.
Yeah, totally. Well, if I were to summarize what we've talked about today, when it comes to scale, it's like, okay, what are my pillars? What are my true norths that I want to be true as I build out this scaled motion? What's great going to look like from a customer experience? Then how do I break all of my customers down into cohorts or segments that make sense? So I'm delivering them right content at right time. So that could be based on customer journey, it could be based on health or usage, and it could be a matrix of both. And then you design your journeys, you design your content, try and partner internally to make sure that the journeys make sense from a customer experience standpoint and that you get some help on the content. And then find some ways of measuring success that isn't just that end goal of GR and NRR that gives you those early indicators so that you can tweak. And hopefully what I hope people take from this is not, this is this massive complex thing and I have to go from naught to this matrix of 25 different journeys across my scaled segment. Like I think Jeff and Steffen, you'd agree with me that it's okay to start small and it's okay to run a couple of things first that feel really good and feel really tailored and learn from the process and build on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to start somewhere, and everything that you do at the beginning is better than it was before, right? And like the thing I would encourage folks who are thinking about starting up a scaled team to do that I did not do enough of early on was figuring out ways to measure the impact of what we do. It was just it's just like we should get in there and help the customers, and we all want to do that and start really fast and ship a lot of stuff, and that's good. But then go back to Steffen's point, if you don't have A/B tests, you don't know what's working or what's not, or you can't prove. Like when you're asking for more resources, you're like, oh, well, retention kind of stayed the same. Like if you can measure the impact, it's one of the best like places to really start from, and then fly from there on.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we have had so much good content. We're right on time. There are a ton of questions in the Q&A. And so here's what we're going to do. We've taken a note of every question as a team, and we're going to send a follow-up. So everybody who is on the webinar right now or has been on at some point, we will get you some answers to those questions as a fast follow. Thank you so much for being patient. But Jeff, Steffen, you both have been absolutely amazing. Thank you for coming on and for sharing your expertise today. For those of you that have been on before, thank you so much for being here. Please go ahead and follow us on LinkedIn. We're running another monthly sync webinar in a month that will all be about how do you build a business case for technology and customer success. So we hope to see you there. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Steffen. See you later.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.